we're supposed to do for our final, but I wanted to do it because I was kind of proud of some of the revisions I made on my final revisions. So what I did here is I pulled up both both versions. The left side of the screen is going to be what I submitted as my final draft, and the right screen is going to be my revisions, my final revisions. So start off, we'll look at the cover here real quick, and I kept saying that it was lacking something. I couldn't figure out what it was. I still don't feel 100% okay with it, but it's a lot better in my mind than it was before. Simply by taking this title and moving it up to the top, it seemed to work a little better. I think it uses more of the space, so that's why it feels better. And a little bit of rule of thirds, like it's a third of the page being used. Moving down and moving along quickly, so this doesn't take too long, is the content page. Kind of boring, I agree. So I added this, and I'm kind of proud of this because this is sort of my pièce résistance of this, because originally that photo did not look like that. That photo originally looked like this, obviously. And then that was actually a little studio that I set up using some Christmas boxes. So that little setup there became this, and then ultimately it became this guy over here. So I was kind of proud of that because that was a lot of Photoshop work for me, and well, that's just not my happy place. To be honest with you, I'm not very comfortable with Photoshop, but I think it looks better, even though it's less, over here it's less spread out. It just kind of looks like it has more of a purpose, I think, than it does on the left side. And introduction page. This was a bone of contention for everybody, and I agree, it definitely needed some work. Primarily the placement of my picture. So the new page looks like this. I Googled how to, this is my new trick, not Googling, but how to word wrap. And it's actually really simple to do with InDesign, though I have not figured out how to do the margin thing, but because of time limitations, I just decided to go with it as it is. So I changed, first off, the size of the picture, took out the drop shadow, put it in the center, and then I also made these interactive links. Because it is an interactive PDF, I went ahead and linked it directly to my blog, which why wouldn't I have done that in the first place? And then I encourage people to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, both the same name, but you click either one of these and it's going to take you to those sites. So that's the changes I made there. Also, I think I ended up making the font like a point or two bigger. So it spread out more of the page. It's not more content, and it's not because of the picture in the middle. I did up the font a little bit. And then this, I agreed that this back picture was not good and left something to be desired. So again, my little party trick for the day is word wrapping. So even though I had originally, when I was first messing with this, put this photo in the center, but it threw everything off. And again, because of time constraints, I just went ahead and put it down at the bottom. But I am still using word wrapping because it, as you move this up, it does change where the text goes. So it did actually still utilize that particular function. And I'll kind of also offset the photo a little bit so you get less superfluous space, for lack of a better term, and you just really focus on the fact that it is just a keyboard typewriter. And there's no question of what that is. We're back here on the right and left side, you definitely kind of question what it is. The next page, I didn't make any changes to this page. Not that it didn't need page changes. I didn't use the word wrap here, though, because I had kind of done it artificially and manually, so I left it as it is. Then down here on Me, My Dad, and Billy Joel, kind of a boring page. So I instituted the use of columns again, primarily. Well, that is what I did. I instituted the use of the columns, and it makes the page a lot more interesting, and it adds some consistency to it since everything except the introduction page is in columns. Then, of course, the page that was the most boring is this page about my father-in-law. And for some reason, when it came through, it did not have the trumpet in the background that you saw, or the version that you saw for some reason. I don't know why the trumpet didn't show up. But I really kind of like that trumpet back there. It's got the gray around it, which matches the color scheme that I've used. And then, of course, I tried to do this originally in columns, but it's just not enough to do two columns. And so I kind of liked it as one wide kind of column shifted over to the center. And I thought it kind of reminded me, if you remember the kid's poet, Shel Silverstein, how he used to do his pages with animations. So I think this page is a lot more interesting than it was over here, especially the version you have that didn't even have a trumpet. And the last thing that I did is I could not figure out the page numbering, and I honestly don't know until I started messing around with it. Did I realize that the pages aren't actually numbered at the bottom here? They're just numbered over here. I was gonna try to put the numbers in the glasses, but I couldn't figure it out. And just again, because of time constraints, I didn't want to move things around too terribly much to the point that I was having to reformat everything. I went ahead and just left the glasses where they were, but I changed the size, and I definitely like the size better now than I did before. So those are the changes I made. I feel actually after making these changes, I'm a little more, oddly enough, the very last day of the class, I'm way more excited about InDesign than I was a few weeks ago because I was really frustrated by it. But I breezed through these changes and forgot for some reason that YouTube is my friend, well, along with Linda, and kind of messed around with it a little bit. Anywho, I'm actually, I know that this is not the most sound design, and certainly I'm not necessarily a designer, as I said in the beginning of the class, but I'm pretty happy with this for my level of ability, because none of this is a template. This is all from scratch, and I'm definitely excited to start working my brand again and getting a little bit getting going with my blog again. This got me really motivated to do that. So it was a win-win for everybody, and definitely, especially up here with my little Photoshop skill set up here, enhancing skill set here. I'm pleased with the work that I did. Thanks again. I will see you around campus.